I wish I could say that I started out thinking this is where I was going to be.
Yep.
But it's just not true. So I think ultimately it's about being passionate about what it is that you do and what it is that you love.
What's up, guys, and welcome to Drinks on Me, the show where we sit back, relax, and unravel the beauty of the hospitality industry. And today here at Hawker Bar, we have Greenstone from Stomping Brewery. Thanks for being here, man.
Pleasure.
Very
honoured to be here.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time I've been drinking Stomping Ground, and you know, it's going to the venues, experiencing that, and feeling what it means to be part of Stomping Ground has been great for me. And so thank you for starting the journey.
No worries. Thanks for drinking our beer.
My pleasure.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, beauty. So for the start, we're going to be making a cocktail. I'm going to be making you the Brew Masters Bourbon Smash, which has bourbon, limes, mint, and sugar. Very basic, and we'll top it with a bit of ginger beer. So before we get into that, guys, I want you guys to sit down, relax, get yourself a beverage, maybe a Stomping Ground beer if you got one, and then get ready for the show, guys. Thanks. As mentioned before, we're going to be making a Brew Masters Bourbon Smash. So we'll get our glasses. We'll start by getting our glasses. We'll get you one, mate. What we're going to do is we're going to start by putting as many mint leaves as you want. I'm going to put about 5 or 6 in there, I reckon.
All right, here we go.
Chuck some in there, boom. I'm going to slap them, get the flavour out. A couple of these, boom, boom. Take a couple, as many as you like.
Boom.
Yep, sweet. Sugar syrup, 15 mils, so we use this small end. Or you don't give you that. You made cocktails before?
Oh, a couple. I'm not much of a mixologist, but I'm more of a beer guy. But
yeah,
I'm enjoying this.
I was considering just to go on. All right, guys, we're going to do something different and make a beer. But I was like, fuck, we got to keep the cocktails.
No, go the cocktails, absolutely.
Totally.
You can actually make really good cocktails with beer. There's a lot of sort of beer mixing you can do.
I experimented with one, but it just didn't work for me. It was like rum, lemon juice, beer, your pale ale, and some sugar.
Yeah, well,
I was like, fuck, it's just a bit.
Yeah, the pale ales often, are tough because they've got a bit of hops in there, and that bitterness can sometimes, fight with some of the other flavours. But you can get it right.
It definitely did fight with the other flavours. So we'll get the flavours out by just giving it a bit of a muddle.
All right, there we go.
We've done this before, mate. Definitely. 60 mils of Maker's Mark bourbon. It's a boozy cocktail, this one. Yeah. You don't need to drink it all. Is
that just to make sure that I, open right up and say lots of stupid things?
Who told you? Who told you that, mate?
Oh, good.
Exactly
I think it'll work.
Okay, now we've got the crushed ice. So now that we've got all our ingredients that we need for the cocktail, just a couple scoops of crushed ice. Yeah, I'll ice it up. Boom. Boom. Do you want to grab one of those long spoons over there? Beauty. Cheers, mate. Give it a little bit of a mix around. The flavours married.
I was hoping we get to do, some of this stuff so I could look like I knew what I was doing.
Well, when you come back, we'll get you on and we'll shake some cocktails for sure.
Beauty.
I can do that after the show as well. And now we've got to top it with some ginger beer if you want to top it with that. Boom. A couple straws. One straw. I'll garnish it up as well with some mint. I've done 2 sprigs. I love fucking mint. I've said it in every episode, but I love mint.
Nice.
So much.
I like the way you slap it, get a bit of flavour out.
Try to. Straw behind the garnish.
Beautiful.
And then we're not done yet. The cherry on top is going to be the Angostura bitters. A couple of splashes. I think this kind of helps represent the flavour of like a hoppy beer and like a bit of flavour. So you get a bit of that through there. Yeah, I like the one-handed, fucking blah blah blah. Easy, too easy. Cheers, man. Cheers. Let's see how it tastes.
All right.
Done. Refreshing, man.
That's good.
Yeah, it is good.
Nice.
Well I could picture myself in tropical Queensland, sitting by the
pool.
Yeah, by the pool.
I could honestly say I've never had any cocktail exactly like this is delicious.
Oh, thanks, man. I actually found it a few days ago, and I was like, fuck, I actually really like it. And so I decided that this was the one. This is the one. Guys, join us over at the conversation. We'll be with you in a second. Thanks for watching the cocktail part.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Before we start the conversation, we'll do one more cheers. Get something into you. Cheers, guy.
Cheers.
So basically, I just wanted to talk about what Stomping Ground is, the local tap house. I'll touch on the Gabs, a little bit of a blast from the past for you, and touch on the Gabs. But I guess the start of the conversation, I wanted to just touch on how did you actually jump into the journey of brewing and distilling, and what sparked that for you?
Yeah, good question. So the whole journey started we started 15 years ago at the local tap house in St Kilda. We wanted to do beer in a way that had never really been done before. We were pretty passionate about beer. My personal beer journey started almost straight out of uni. I'm a chemical engineer by qualification. That was what I studied. And my first job out of uni was working for a big brewery. And I fell in love with beer straight away. And they had a craft beer wing. There wasn't a lot of craft beer in the country at the time. We're talking about 99.
Yep.
And the only real craft beer I could get my hands on was James Squire. And
is that classified as a craft?
Yeah, it was then. There certainly wasn't a lot else around.
True.
And I'd fallen in love with craft beer snowboarding in Canada with one of my best mates. And he introduced me to these micro brews, and I tasted these beers. And
what is a micro brew?
Yeah, well, see, back then people used to call them microbreweries. These days they call them more craft breweries.
Okay.
The name has kind of shifted and changed, but it used to just mean a small brewery, microbrewery. So there was these microbreweries in Canada, and when I was boarding and after skiing or snowboarding, you'd go to the local watering hole and crack open a beer.
Taphouse.
Well, that came later. And open up a beer and taste it, and it was delicious. And I thought, wow, so much flavour. So I sort of fell in love with beer then.
Right.
Straight out of uni, started working for a brewery that was all very macro kind of beer. But I gravitated towards the more small batch, full of flavour sort of stuff. So
that's dope.
I fell in love with it, and I just wanted to do more of it.
Were you drinking many beers at uni? Is that how you cut? Were you like,
I'm an engineer.
You're an engineer. Is that a yes or is that
that's
a no?
A yes?
That's a yes. Okay.
That's what you do as at uni. But I really sort of loved all the range of flavours that you could find, and then. So the local tap house was basically born in 2008. Me and my business partner Steve at the time started this tap house that had 20 different beers on tap. We wanted to find beers from wherever we could, from all over Australia, all over the world, and just present the best range of beers that we could possibly find on tap.
At the time, was that a kind of new trend, or was that something that hadn't been done much before?
Hadn't really been done much before. There was a couple of places dabbling with it, but it was really tough. Like back then, there must have been 20 different breweries in Australia, and that was it. Whereas now there's 700.
700?
Plus, yeah.
Holy shit.
So it was tough, and so we'd contact breweries in Adelaide and in Queensland and in Western Australia, and we'd say, please, can you send us a couple of kegs of beer? And they'd say, I don't know if we should send them to you because will we get the kegs back? And we say, we promise we'll send the kegs back. And these days you're bombarded with reps going, we'll sell you this, we'll sell you that. But back then it was really hard.
That's crazy, actually.
We had to work hard to get the beer.
That's the reps. It just is non-stop.
Yeah.
It's non-stop. So that's why it's hard for me to believe that, however many years ago that there weren't many.
That's
because
right.
it feels like every week multiple people are coming in trying to sell their own beer.
So 15 years ago it was hard. It was much tougher, and we had to sort of organise pallets of beer to come over.
Yep.
And we kind of said to ourselves, you know what, if our measure of success, if our venue had been successful, is if a punter came in and ask for a beer by style, as opposed to, can I have this brand? Can I have VB? Can I have Carlton Draft? Can I have a whatever? Everybody knew beer by brand. Whereas when you go shopping for wine, you don't sort of necessarily go, I would like a Jacob's Creek. You go, oh, I love a Shiraz, or I love a Pinot Noir. So we thought, if someone asks for beer by style,
that's cool.
That'll be a measure of success. And sure enough, it didn't take that long before someone would come in and say, have you got a stout? Have you got an IPA? Have you got what have you got in the way of, a porter or something like that? So we knew that it was resonating with the market, and and things were changing and it happened to coincide with this birth of a craft beer revolution.
Perfect timing.
That was just going nuts.
Stars aligned.
Correct.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. And how did you actually manage to meet Steve? Like, how did that relationship form? And then furthermore, how did you meet Justin? Let's talk about that a bit.
Sure. So I got two partners, Steve and Justin. Steve and I met because he had a bar called the St Kilda Local.
Okay.
And he had a contract with CUB on at the time. And like many people did. And I was always trying to get different beers on tap there, even though it wasn't my territory. I was a local there, and I'd come there all the time, and we had a blast. We'd have big nights there and have lock-ins and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, dope.
And I was always telling him, why don't you try this beer? And his hands were kind of tied because of this CUB contract, but he was experimenting a little bit on one tap, and he was putting some Cooper's product in there and a couple of other things. Anyway, one day he turned around to me and said, hey, listen, I've got this idea for a beer bar, and what do you reckon? Would you like to join me? And I was, by that stage, actually, I'd already left the brewery, and I was working for a finance company.
Okay.
I was dying to get back into the world of hospitality and of beer, and I loved everything to do with beer and to do with hospitality and to do with business. So I jumped at the opportunity, and the two of us opened up the local tap house.
That's amazing, and it's a beautiful time when you find something that you're so motivated and passionate to do, and I'm sure you jumped straight into that opportunity and learnt a lot through that.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, Justin, who is our third partner, was our very first manager at the time. And he and I knew each other because I was a rep, and I was repping all the line beers, like the James Squire beers, as well as some other Tooheys products. And he was the venue manager of one of the first brew pubs in Melbourne called the James Squire Brew House, which is now the Portland Hotel.
I think I've been to a James Squire's paddle session when I was studying my Cert 4 in hospitality. I went to the James Squire's one. I think it's it's in the city somewhere.
Yeah, that's right, on Russell.
On Russell Street.
Yeah, Little Collins and Russell.
Yeah.
So anyway, I knew him, and he came along and interviewed, and we thought he was good, and then and so he was our manager for 8 years or something.
Amazing.
And then eventually we said, listen, when we wanted first we opened up a festival. We did Gabs and ran that festival eventually for the best part of 10 years.
Gabs stands for?
You say it.
Great Australasian Beer Spectacular.
Very well done.
Spectacular.
You've been practicing.
As in the beer taps. I have been practicing. So what was that about, man?
Well, again, it was about us celebrating beer and everything that beer could be. We were so excited about all these different styles, the creativity of brewers, and we wanted to bring that to the masses, and we wanted to celebrate the creativity of brewers. So it was effectively a hospitality experience on steroids in one big, beautiful place, amassing all of these different beers that were brewed especially for the occasion, never tasted before, and just celebrating the creativity and this amazing fluid that we all loved called beer. And we wanted to do it in an entertaining fashion, where there was, circus acts, and there was bands, and there was all sorts of stuff. So people could come along, and even if you weren't into beer, you could come along and have a brilliant time.
I understand that you moved forward to focus more onto Stomping Ground at the time. So is the Gab still running?
Gabs is still alive. So we took it to the Royal Exhibition Building in Carlton in 2012 for the first time.
Okay.
And then over the years we grew it, and we started a Sydney version of it, and then we started an Auckland version of it, and then we started a Brisbane version, and it grew.
Are you from Auckland?
No,
you got a bit of an accent.
I grew up in Sydney, but don't hold that against me. But I moved here 22 years ago.
Okay.
And it grew to 4 cities and 55,000 people, and we knew. But then at the same time, with the local tap house and with Gabs, we started up a brewery called Stomping Ground. And Stomping Ground was we wanted to bring everything that we'd learnt at the forefront of beer, which was all about what consumers were interested in.
Totally.
The cutting edge of what was happening in the beer scene. And we wanted to create a beer that's really sort of captured everything we loved about Melbourne specifically.
Okay.
The hospitality scene, the coffee scene, the cuisine,
Yep.
the culture, the arts, everything that was amazing about urban Melbourne culture, and kind of put it into a can, and so that you had a taste of Melbourne in every
It
sip.
comes out with the sip, mate, and it comes out when you go to the venues at Stomping Ground in Moorabbin. And I haven't been to Collingwood, but even going to Moorabbin, man, it's just like a beautiful feeling when you're there.
Thank you.
It's comforting, it's accepting, it's experimental, it's cool. It just feels great to be there. I'm actually going tomorrow.
Oh, great.
I'm going there tomorrow with another friend, and it's just a great place to be.
Awesome.
So you've created an awesome experience, and I guess that leads on to like what experience means to you and how you've managed to connect your product to an experience and why that is so important to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess just backtracking for two
Yep,
secs.
yep.
I think what you've said about feeling comfortable and at home there, that's very fundamental to what it is that we're all about. So a stomping ground is essentially a place that you feel at home at. You feel comfortable. You kind of have a bit of a sense of ownership. That's my stomping ground. That's my old stomping ground. There's also a bit of a sense of nostalgia about it. So we wanted to kind of capture all of those feelings and create a venue and a brand that sort of embodied all of that, and that where people felt at home and comfortable and included, not judged, and they could come alone or come with friends.
That's a very big part. It's a very big part, not feeling judged, because when you go to a lot of these places, you might be new to beer, you might be new to understanding what how beer's made and tasting beers. At Stomping Ground, you don't feel like you're being pushed. You don't feel like people are judging you because you don't understand it. You feel like you're almost on a guided lesson about beer, and it's only however much you want is however much you get.
That was so good that you kind of picked that up, because education is a huge part of what our ethos and what we're all about. So we like to provide education for our staff, but then in turn, our staff can then provide education about beer specifically, but everything and all products to the punters.
Totally.
But if you come in there and you just want a quiet drink and you don't want to have anything shoved down your throat, we need to pick up on those cues, and we need to know that's not really what you're here for. You're here for catching up with a friend. You're here to just chill and do whatever you want. But you might be super interested and you might want to ask some questions, and that's even the bars. Our bars have been designed so that there's minimal barrier between the customer or the consumer and the bartender, so that it encourages that engagement, so that we encourage questions to be asked and that information to exchange.
I think that's so interesting how you can like bend a venue or bend a space to create an emotion and a feeling. That's something that we'll talk about another time, maybe outside the show on the next one. But
yeah, I mean,
it is important part.
And it's also important because you also never want to make someone feel belittled or like they know less than you. It's like, it's a sharing of enthusiasm. It's a sharing of love of the product, of the experience, of all of those things, as opposed to I know so much and you know so little, and
Totally.
listen to what I have to say. It's more like, let's talk about this thing that we're passionate about together.
Totally.
And that's kind of the vibe that we try to create.
And I don't know how it kind of became what it is today, but at least today it definitely feels like that. Because I've only been drinking for 5 years legally, so I haven't seen it from the ground up, but I've seen it from then, and it's just always felt like that to me. I wanted to move on into your venues in the airport. And it's something that I don't think anyone would really, growing up, dream of, running a venue that's in an airport. And it's something that you've done for a few years now, I understand.
Yes.
And you started with the local Taphouse and the Virgin Terminal.
Actually, we started with Stomping Ground at the Virgin Terminal. And now we're about to open up the local Taphouse in the Qantas Terminal.
Beautiful.
So the way that kind of came about was really because Stomping Ground, the brand, is very synonymous with Melbourne, and as I mentioned, we wanted to really celebrate Melbourne culture and everything that we love about Melbourne. So it kind of stood to reason that the gateway to Melbourne was Melbourne Airport. That's where so many people experience Melbourne for the first time. And we went to Melbourne Airport and pitched the idea.
So you initiated it. You didn't
right.
get approached.
No, we went to them
Wow.
and said, hey, you know, we had a look around, and it turned out that they had this space outdoors on the land side. So the airport's usually separated into land side, air side.
Okay.
Air side is past security, land
Yeah.
side is before security.
Yep.
And they had this outdoor space in between Terminal 3 and Terminal 4 that was kind of a bit of a nothing, and they knew that they were going to develop it, but it was going to be about a year away. So as we were looking at different sites, Steve said, or Justin said, I can't remember, one of the two said, hey, have you got anything with some outdoor area? Because we love outdoors. And they said, well, actually, funnily enough, we don't know what to do with this space. And so we pitched this idea to them, and they said, we love it. So 2 years in a row, we had this pop-up bar that we called Terminal 3.5, which was in between Terminal 3 and Terminal 2. Terminal 4. And that was, we had a container bar with all these different taps, and we had like deck chairs.
Container bar? Do you mean like a shipping container?
Yeah, refrigerated shipping container with taps coming through, which we kind of borrowed the idea from our Gabs experience. And that worked really well, and people would come there and loved it. And so when they were redesigning Terminal 3, they invited us to pitch. And then we learned very quickly that doing it ourselves, just us, was going to be pretty challenging, because the airport's an interesting beast with compliance and all of this sort of stuff, and things can change all the time. The leases are pretty short. So we actually ended up partnering up with a big company called Delaware North, who specialises in destination type of hospitality venues, casinos, resorts, airports, stadiums. They've got Marvel Stadium.
Oh,
and we partnered with them.
How the hell did you partner with them?
They approached us and they said, hey, listen, we love your brand. We know that you're interested in the airport. You've done this pop-up. We'd love to do a co-pitch together with you.
That's
and
amazing.
We said, and then we were like, well, hold on, they've approached us. How do we know they're any good? So we tested other people, and we really liked them, and they were really true to their word. And they're huge, but they still are family owned, which is weird. And
that is interesting.
So we partnered with them, and it's worked really well. And they were amazing over COVID, of the C word, which we won't mention.
The C word.
So they've been amazing to work with anyway. So we were very lucky to be working with them and learning a lot from their experience. But I think it's a win-win, because we bring some brand and expertise. We did all the design. We did the menu.
What an amazing story.
Yeah, and that worked really well. And so because it worked so well, we decided to go again and do the local Taphouse.
Congratulations,
in the Qantas terminal.
Congratulations. I understand that your business is big on sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to touch on that, and what sustainability means to you personally, and what it means to the brand, and how you kind of make an impact on creating a sustainable brand, and what you guys do specifically. So can you list off a few things that you do, or go into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, first of all, to answer your question, what does it mean to me personally? We've only got one planet, and we need to look after it as best we can. Climate change is a big issue, and everybody has to do their little bit. So we have to try and get better, all of us. All the time, we have to do the best we can. So that's kind of our philosophy. There's a lot that we do. There's a lot more that we could do, and we're always trying to improve. So it's not like we've solved it yet, and it's not like we've arrived and we go, here we are, how amazing are we? We're more like, okay, what else can we do? What else can we do?
So
how
what are you
can we
doing
improve?
now?
Look, we try to do a whole bunch of stuff. We on the hospitality side, we've got a program that our head chef has initiated called One Fish, Two Fish, which is basically all of our fish that is sourced is sustainably sourced, and fish farming is done. Like, the deeper into this you go, the more you realise that nothing's perfect,
a never-ending box,
it's an absolute rabbit hole. The One Fish, Two Fish thing is a really good, the most sustainable version of being able to eat fish that we've found so far. We do a thing called Shuck Don't Chuck.
Shuck Don't Chuck. I've seen that on your website.
Which is basically a program where we keep the shells from the oysters, and that's used for oyster farming, which just assists in the sustainability side of things. Our grain is collected, our spent grain is collected by farmers to go in, for cattle feed and for and that sort of thing. We have solar on the roof, which
Beautiful.
is an easy one.
Yep. But it's a must.
We've got, I think, 99 kilowatt and 360 something panels on our roof that provides. At one point in time, it was providing about 70% of our energy. As we've become bigger, it's now providing about 40% of our energy requirements.
Yep.
But then we also try to minimise our water usage. We try to recapture heat wherever we can. So we use heat in to circulate over pumps, etc. And we heat up reservoirs of water. We use that for cleaning.
So interesting.
We also capture water from the roof into water tanks, and we use that for irrigation and that sort of thing.
That's amazing, man.
It's a little bit, and that's part of the reason we
start.
chose cans, because from a freight point of view, it's cheaper. It's actually turns out that it's better for the beer as well. But But it's aluminium's infinitely recyclable at the same time as lighter, takes up less space. From a freight point of view especially, it tends to be a lot more efficient.
Of course, because the heavier the freight, the more expensive, not the more expensive, but the more carbon emitted from the trucks, and the more trucks you require, and
exactly.
it's a little thing goes a long way.
All these little things, and so there's a million things that we can do. I wish there was no waste at all, but we also we're working to try and minimise the packaging materials that are used from our supply side as well. And actually the suppliers, and big business is catching on to this much faster than the government is. Like our downstream customers, some of the bigger retailers are starting to get really conscious about the type of packaging material that's used in the product that they're buying, which is great. And we're trying to do the same with our suppliers, saying, don't wrap it in single-use plastic, wrap it in biodegradable plastic, or wrap it in, give us packaging material that we can use.
It's good to hear that everyone's doing their bit. It's good to hear that everyone's taking, their moment to do what they can for the sustainability and to be environmentally friendly. It's a massive part of the hospitality industry. Recycling all the bottles that we go through, everything about the hospitality creates such an impact on our environment. And I think that everyone can do little things to improve it, and it'll make a detrimental impact for the environment, which is beautiful. I love what you do there.
Yeah, thanks,
honestly. I think that the next thing that I wanted to talk on, and probably the last topic for the day, was to inspire the younger generation of people who want to start a brewery, who want to be the stomping ground, or the next brewery. Where did you start, and can you break it down into a brief step-by-step start about how you came about it and what you did to actually make it happen?
Yes, I can, but I think it's funny because when you look behind and you look at how you've got to somewhere, you kind of, all the dots kind of line up and that makes sense. But it's not like when you're starting, you look at those dots and you go, if I do this and then I do that, I'll get there. It's kind of a lot more organic than that, and it just kind of happens. So I wish I could say that I started out thinking this is where I was going to be, but it's just not true. So I think ultimately it's about being passionate about what it is that you do and what it is that you love, and passion gets you into a certain direction, but you got to take people along for the ride. You got to be inclusive. One of the key things I would say is you need to really be able to articulate your sense of purpose and what you stand for from a values point of view, because when you do that, the people that work with you, and I like to use that rather than work for you, because you're all a team.
Of course.
Hospitality is a team, is a teamwork thing. Brewing is a teamwork thing. Business is a teamwork thing. If you're going to get a team to work together, you all need to be focused on the same thing, and you need to be aligned when it comes to values.
I totally think that is so important that you've said that you couldn't map out a way or the step-by-step plan, but that it's the passion. I think you hear people talk about it's the passion, but I think you've just broken it down because everyone's journey is different. There's no cookie cutter way of you doing it. You've just you've believed that this is what you want to do.
Yep.
You've completely believed it with every fiber of your body that you wanted to do it, and it naturally takes you on its own journey. And I think that that's a very, very well articulated way of explaining to people that it's about what you're passionate about and your belief rather than how you actually go about it. Because what you want will come, and you've just hit the nail on the head right there for me. That's exactly
it's about taking the next best step always.
Next best step. Okay.
So you're always kind of going, what do I do next? And it's about thinking about what your options are and having the conviction to do it. And the hardest step to take is that very first one, to just jump, to just go, do I do it or don't I do it? I could do it. Or you could just be safe and just do that forever. Or you can go, I'm going to take a massive risk. And what I think you got to realize is if you take the risk and it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world.
No.
Because we all fuck up all the time. And we still fuck up all the time.
Of course.
But you take the step and then you learn and you figure it out and you just go again. And sometimes you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off and you go, am I braver? The first Gabs, we lost a bunch of money. We thought we're never going to go again. But we picked ourselves up, we dusted ourselves off, we went again. And 10 years later, we ended up having a festival that lasted for 10 years. It's still going.
Yep.
And our dream is that the next custodian carries on going. And
I'm so going to the next Gabs. I'm so going to the next Gabs. It's the leap of faith. That's what we've been saying in the previous episodes. That's how I articulate it, is taking that leap of faith.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a calculated risk. You've got to really, plan it.
Yep.
But you can't plan it you'll never get 100%. You've got to get to, I'm pretty comfortable with this and I know there's some unknowns.
Yep.
But I've kind of worked most of them out. But at some point in time, you've got to take the step.
100%. And to conclude the show, just wanted to touch on the future of Guy and the future of Stomping Around and what's happening there. If there's anything you wanted to talk about real quick.
Sure. I mean, look, the future of Stomping Ground it's been an interesting time in the brewing industry over the last year. It's been pretty tough for a lot of brewers. While cost of living pressure is driving prices down, while costs of input costs like grain and cans and cardboard and everything's going up, so margins are getting squeezed.
Yep.
So you better damn be passionate about what you're doing because you might not be in it for the money right now. You know what I mean?
So you're in it for the long haul.
But for us, we're passionate about making amazing beer, and we're passionate about building beautiful teams and great teams, giving people career opportunities. We're also passionate about this particular market. We kind of, a long time ago, realised that we don't want to be in Sydney and in Brisbane and in WA, even though we've dabbled in all of those markets. This is our home. And from the outset, we've always been very Melbourne and Victoria focused. And we realised that that's really one of our strengths. We want to be, the Great Northern is the beer from up here.
Yep.
We're the beer from down here.
Stomping
and we
ground,
just want to
baby.
be the beer from down here. We want to be synonymous with Melbourne and with what Melbourne's all about. So,
I've got your back, man. I love everything you're doing, and just want to say that you should be proud of yourself, mate. So,
thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for coming on. It's been a great show. It's been a great show. We've had a great conversation. Thanks for making it this far in the show, guys. If you want to come try this Brew Masters Bourbon Smash at Hawker Bar, we'll be having it on tap for the next week. Not literally on tap.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys, and cheers to you, mate.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.